Hey knitters, welcome to episode 211 of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I'm your host, Devin Ventry. You can find me online at KnittyMcPurly.com. I'm Knitty McPurly on Instagram, and if you want to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. Welcome to the podcast. I am legit still drinking my morning coffee out of my non-state yellow mug, which is not super exciting, but this is where we are in the day. Welcome to Saturday. Oh my gosh, the retreat is in 5 days. What? How did we get here? Oh my gosh, I am so excited. We're gonna be talking about that this episode. There will be no podcast next week, obviously, because me and you and all of us will be in Dallas at the knitting retreat. And then February 8th, I will be back for the total retreat recap so that if you were not able to come, you can feel like you were there. It's gonna be great. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. I am wearing my Everywhere sweater. Do you remember this sweater? I kind of forgot about it. I don't wear it a super lot because it is very warm. This sweater is one I designed, let me think, 2022, designed it in 2022, and it is bulky yarn. This is Berlin bulky held together with Munich mohair. It's a very German sweater. And it is very warm. I do love the design of it. I love the pockets are so nice because I specifically designed them to fit my phone. Like I can put my whole phone in there. It's got this stockinette. It's not a 1x1 rib. Like the whole sweater is a rib and then the button band is stockinette. And you just block it to keep it from rolling and it looks like this. And I love this sweater. And the reason I call it the Everywhere sweater is because at the time it was a super popular sweater design. Like it was everywhere. My daughter had bought one just like it at Target or Old Navy or wherever she was shopping. And I was like, that's super popular. I see that everywhere. Hence the sweater. Anyway, it is very cold today and it is appropriate. It has been appropriate for the weather for a little while. So I'm glad that I pulled mine out. This isn't a color that is not a part of my regular lexicon of colors. I called it dusk. And I ended up going with a lighter gray for my, my regular colors, but I do like this color. Okay, progress in shop news. It has been all retreat. It's just been retreat on retreat on retreat that I have been busy with. I'm really not a procrastinator. Like I know that I can't handle that feeling of, oh no, here I am and everything's not done. And so I look out for future Devin and I do all that stuff ahead of time. So really like everything's ready. All of the boxes have been shipped and have arrived in Dallas. I have all of the stuff packed that I'm gonna take with me. I don't have like my personal bag packed, but I have a few days for that. But I just have a few little things I need. Like I'm teaching a class and I have to get those handouts printed out and whatnot, but it's just little stuff at this point. So like this is the fun, like I'm entering into the fun part because the months and months leading up to the retreat, it's a lot of work. And it's just kind of it's the back end. Of making the event happen, but we are on the brink of the fun. Like the reward is here and I am so excited. I cannot wait. Gigi and I are so pumped. Gigi's coming with me and I can't wait to see you guys. I can't wait to see those of you who I know and to meet those of you who I have not yet met. It's going to be so much fun. And if you're not going, don't worry because we're going to have our lagniappes coming out with your orders. And next week, in 2 weeks on the 8th, I will have a total retreat recap. It's gonna be awesome. So moving right along to my personal knitting, I have been working on my cottage swan show and I got pretty far. I made a couple of, so the pattern, and maybe I misread it, That's possible. I don't want to blame the pattern when it totally could be me. But I thought it said I only needed 2 skeins of my background color, which for me is the meadow. And that doesn't sound right. Like that doesn't sound like enough yarn. So probably I misread it. But I used the 2 skeins, and then this is a piece of a scrap that I had laying around. And I'm on, so here's what happened. So as I am finishing up the color work, I realized that right at the end of the color work, I was supposed to do 1 more round of increases. And I didn't do them, but I thought, I don't want this thing to be too big. Like I want it to kind of fit. I don't want it to be too big. I don't want it to be too long, because then it will overwhelm me and it won't be flattering and I won't wear it. So I decided to leave off the last round of increases. I don't exactly remember how many stitches it was. It was like 20, but the pattern is written in such a way that I need to have the stitch count to follow the directions. I like when you write a pattern that has stitch markers, sometimes you can do things like split for the sleeves based on where the stitch markers are, and that makes it a little bit easier. And you know, it doesn't always work. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was able to do a little math and rejigger the instructions so that I could put the armholes in so that they would be, you know, opposite each other, because I wasn't going to be able to use the directions because I had a different stitch count. So what I did was I figured out how many stitches I was going to need for each sleeve, and for 2 of those. So I think it was like 46 and 46 stitches for each sleeve, which added together is 92. And if my whole stitch count was like 400 maybe, or 300, I don't remember, but whatever it was, I subtracted out the stitch count for the sleeve, and then I just divided that in half for the front and the back. And then I went from there and used that information to change the instructions. So then after I split for the sleeves, I started knitting below that, and I thought I should try this on. And maybe I did try it on. I think I tried it on before I did the sleeves, just to verify how long, you know, how it was going to look and how long it was going to be. And so I decided to put the sleeves right where the pattern said to put them. So right there. And then I was knitting below that, and I thought this is going to be too long and I'm not going to like it. Because if a sweater like this that's really wide ends at your hips, at your widest point, it's going to make you look wider. So it has to end, if you want it to be flattering, it needs to end closer to your true waist. Now this is not a sweater that I'm going to be able to wear without something under it anyway. You know, even if it were longer, as soon as you lift your arm up, the whole side goes up. That's part of a swan shell. So I'm gonna have to wear something under this anyway, so I figure I might as well just shorten the part below the sleeves so that it doesn't end up being too long. So I think I was supposed to knit about 2 inches in stockinette, and I knit like less than 1 inch. And then the ribbing is supposed to be 2 inches. And what I have now is about 1 inch. I'll probably do, I don't know how much more I'll do, we'll see. I'll probably just go by whatever I feel like doing, maybe a little more, a couple more rounds, and then I'll bind off. And then I actually am out of this, of the meadow in the Dubrovnik DK, but I'm pretty sure that I shipped some to Texas. So when I get there, I need to grab a skein out of there so that I can do the sleeves. It's been crazy. Like, I don't know why I picked a location that I had to ship everything to. I did it for you guys. I did it for you. And I'm glad that I did, because I really feel like it's going to be a great travel experience for everyone. But it has made it a little bit more challenging for me. I'm not going to be able to bring as much stuff to sell as I normally would, you know, if it were something drivable. I can, you know, pack my van if I'm driving there. But if I have to fly, then I've got to limit it. And I still mailed like 6 giant boxes to Lisa's house. Hi, Lisa. Oh my gosh, Lisa's amazing. She is just the best. Anyway, so that's where I am on that. Pretty far. Pretty far. I think that if I get some good knitting time, which I should on my trip, I will be able to finish this. Isn't it great? Like, I just love the colors. It's so bright and fun. It's been really fun to work on. Okay, I've also been working on my Musselburgh hat. Got lots of comments on that, which I will share in the comment section. It feels like I worked on it more than there is to show for it because it's, you know, fingering weight on size 1 needles. So it's, this is what it is. That's as far as we've got. But again, I'm using the Freetown fingering, which is organic, single ply, and this is the color Roxette. And you can see, you know, there's variations in there like hand-dyed yarn is supposed to have. It's just so awesome. My humble opinion. All right. Okay. So last Sunday, which is the day that I typically get the most knitting time, excuse me, I was working on my swan show, and this pattern, it's definitely not a beginner pattern for 2 reasons, because sometimes you're knitting with 3 colors at one time, and sometimes you have these really, really long floats. Like in that last row right there with the trinket, this is like at least 20 stitches that you are, you know, carrying a float behind. And now I had learned years ago how to trap the floats behind your knitting so that you can't see it on the right side, but it just catches it. So instead of being a really, really long float, it's half the length, or however often you want to trap it. I trapped it right in the middle. And I had learned how to do that years ago. And one of the things that I learned is that it's not a great technique when you're working on something that's going to be stretched, like if it has negative ease like a hat, because those trapped floats can show through. But in this situation, that's kind of a non-issue. Like it's drapey, there's no negative ease at all in this swan show. And so I thought, I'm gonna go ahead and relearn how to trap the floats. Because like I said, I learned it years ago, but I almost never use it because most patterns don't have excessively long floats. I think a lot of designers now, and I know this is true for me, care about not only the end result, but also the knitting process. You want it to be fun and enjoyable and not too challenging. And you know, it depends. Like it depends where you are in your knitting, and it depends what you want out of the project. Sometimes you're willing to do the hard thing if for the sake of the end result. But a lot of times, I personally like to keep my floats short in my colorwork patterns just because that's really enjoyable to knit, I think. Anyway, so there is more than one way to trap a float, but one of my small camera crew took this little video of me last Sunday on the couch, and it's not amazing. So I will link a better video below that shows you how to do this technique. Like if you're going, I can't quite make it out because it's a little too far away, I will link a better video below. But anyway, here's that. All right, so we have a really long run here. It is a 16 stitch run. And so I'm going to be trapping the float in the back. So there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so in this next stitch, I'm just going to catch that float by pulling the color that I'm not using to the front, the one that I want to catch, and then you go in and knit the stitch as usual, and you see that in the back you have grabbed that float, and it makes it 8 stitches instead of 16. There are other ways to do this, but that way is super, super easy. All right, the comment section. Dilly Dahlia laughed at the fact that I called it the ghetto knit front and back because it's just kind of ghetto. Like it's just so, like it's not refined. It's just very basic. It's quick and dirty, right? She says, I've made a few Musselburghs and I have an even more ghetto method for the increases, yarn overs. On the plain rounds, you knit the yarn over through the back loop so there's no hole. knit the yarn over through the back loop. What does that mean? Oh, on the other row. So you do the yarn over, and then when you get to the yarn over on your next round, you knit it through the back loop. Got it. I love this method because the yarn overs make it so easy to tell what round you're on. That is so true. That's also true for the knit front and back. I mean, it's like increases for idiots. I mean, that sounds unkind and I don't mean it that way. Just like increases for dummies, you know, like just real basic, easy increases. I love that. That's just so easy for me. She says, I do the same method for the increases on my toe up socks. My husband loves his muscle burras that I've made him. The quadruple thickness brim, if you fold it up, is super warm in our cold Eastern Washington winters. I bet it gets cold up there. It has been really cold in this Washington on the other coast this year. It's crazy. Katie B, Gryffindor Chaser. Hi, Katie, says, you're absolutely right. Muscle burra is indeed said burra in Scottish. I was schooled on this years ago by a Scottish lady who corrected my pronunciation of Edinburgh. Because did you say Edinburgh? That's what I would say. Like in America, we have Pittsburgh, right? But you know, if you go to Scotland and you just don't want to sound like a total idiot, it's burra. The other day, my friends and I went to this Asian fusion place for my friend's birthday, and the meat is called bulgogi. And I was like, can I have the bulgogi? And my friends were like, oh gosh, where did we find her? You know, if it's a new word, you just guess, right? She says, I think the Scots sometimes even roll the R's. Now, I cannot roll my R's. My family makes fun of me because I can't do it. But truthfully, if I could roll my R's, I would be super annoying about it. I would roll them all the time in the most inappropriate places. Katie says, it helps me as an American English speaker to remember that we have odd uses of GH also, like cough and ought, which neither of which have a g sound. I know, right? Through, thought, though. I'm trying to teach this to my 10-year-old and it's like, you've got to be kidding me. Michelle says, I've knit a few muscle burra hats. I love the idea of a knit front and back for the increases, but what decreases are you going to do at the end to match the top? By the way, I'm going to knit a muscle burra hat with the leftovers I had from your 2024 Advent. Awesome. That would be so fun. Oh, that reminds me, I need to have an In the Wild segment because I have gotten some really good pictures that you guys have sent me, things that you have made with the Advent calendar. Don't let me forget. Okay. So with regard to matching the increases to the decreases, I am 100% not going to do that. I'm going to do a knit front and back, slip, knit. Knit two together, slip, knit, mirrored. That's all I'm going to do. And it doesn't matter if they match because you're not going to see them both. I'm probably going to put the increases one on the inside because I think the decreases is going to look better. I think. We'll see. Whatever looks better is the one that goes on the outside. And once I shape it, no one will think to unshape it. That'll be that. Debbie says, long ago I Googled the pronunciation. It's muscle bra, not so much burra. Muscle bra. Now I'm gonna quit. Like I'm just gonna give up and be like Musselburgh. I'm just gonna lean right into the Pittsburgh pronunciation of it. Also, now here's another embarrassing pronunciation mistake. I said Zanete knits. Apparently it's Jeanette, like Janet, but more of a Jeanette. I never would have gotten there. Thank you so much for that. It's like before knitting podcasts, when it was just me knitting by myself. And I was like, Joji Locatelli is such a great designer. And then I was watching podcasts. I'm like, I am an idiot. You know, I didn't take Spanish. And Jeanette is Latvian. And I didn't ever study that language either. So I think if you called her Zanete and you said Musselberg, then I think we just need to be like, it's okay. Probably she understands that we're Americans and we don't know. But anyway, she was on Fruity Knittings, episode 150. And if you want to learn about her, I have not gone and checked that out, but I definitely will because I'm interested. She's an amazing knitter. I mean, just a really great knitter. Her patterns look beautiful. I've never knit one of them, but some of you have and have good things to say. She was born in Latvia and she, Debbie says, has an afterthought Dutch heel that I would love to try someday. Then she says, oh wow, that plain knitting story made me sniffle. I hope to knit forever. I had a lot of comments on that. I'm gonna read these comments because there were some really, really good ones from last time. Baby Zale says, oh, I loved Sarah's story of her knitting while flying and her conversation with the elderly passenger. I resumed knitting at 69 years old after a 40+ year lapse. When knitting at a younger age, I felt that I was always in such a hurry to finish the project that I didn't enjoy the process. I'm sure this was largely due to the busyness of my life at that point in time. That makes sense. You were 29. I mean, the 20s are very busy. When, years later, I thought to give knitting another try, I wanted to pay attention to both the project and the process. This has served me very well. I'm not necessarily a fast knitter or a slow knitter, but somewhere in between. In the past 1.5 years, I have truly enjoyed knitting more than I realized was possible. With every project, I look to try something new to me, new stitch, lace, colorwork, etc., and something I will use or wear. My knitting journal is full and I need to start a new book. I am always knitting and loving this time spent well on so many levels. I anxiously look forward to Saturdays so I can watch you. I have learned a great deal from you, especially my weakness, math. Me too, girlfriend. Thank you so much for your Gauge Switcheroo worksheet and your podcast. Thank you so much. That was such a nice comment. And I think that that's awesome. I love that you've picked it up again and that it's a special thing for you and that you're bringing to it age and maturity. You know, I think we all rush through things in our 20s. And then as you get older, you're like, what am I in such a hurry for? Deborah says, Sarah's airplane story did make my eyes tear up. So I'm admitting it for others as well, haha. So true what she said about not being able to do things when you're older as we did when we were younger. I've told many people to always prepare for changes in life or else. For example, we are a veteran homeschool family, 20+ years, and I've told other moms who currently have young teens at home to prepare for your children to leave you one day. And they would say, oh no, almost crying in advance. I said, if you don't prepare now in your brain, then that day will come and you won't be any good when it happens. By the same token, we must all prepare for our older years. One day, I may not be able to lift my cast iron frying pan or knit at all, or climb the hiking trail like I can do right now. Not saying it's inevitable, but always be at the ready. So when it does happen, if it does, you won't be grouchy, angry, or just plain icky old lady that nobody wants to visit. I tell my children all the time to put me in check if I am acting like a crazy old lady. I'm 68. We want to be grateful that we had the years of productivity and realize that if we're still breathing, we have days ahead of wisdom to share, which is probably more productive than we realize. Thank you for your podcasts and blessings. So she brings up some really, really good points. I feel like there are two things here at play. We need to prepare for our older lives by being in good shape. And Deborah says, like, if you're hiking, Deborah, you are doing things, you're putting deposits in the bank account of your future health. Anytime you can go out and take a walk, you can lift some weights, do some exercise, do some stretching, you are paying ahead your ability to lift the frying pan and knit later. So there's that side of it. But there's also the detachment side of it, in that we're not owed anything. We're not owed health. We're not owed a good, comfortable life. We might get it, and wouldn't it be great if we did and we could knit up until we die? That would be great. but there's no guarantee that we're going to be here tomorrow. So we have to have a certain amount of detachment too, and say, well, I'm going to do everything I can to be as healthy and thriving in my old age as I can, while at the same time being detached from that and saying, you know, my life is great. I'm so grateful for the blessings that I have, but they could all be gone tomorrow. And what is it? The Lord gives and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. We have to be grateful for whatever we're given. And I say this like I do that, but I'm a very mediocre human being. Josie Joe says, sometimes the YouTube algorithm amazes me. They just now showed me your channel and I am hooked. What took them so long to show me your videos? I just wanted to say that I love your videos and have been enjoying going back and watching them. In fact, I'm currently 38 weeks pregnant and have saved probably 20 of your past podcasts to a playlist so I can watch them easily come postpartum nursing sessions. Awesome. I love your encouraging and uplifting community, and I am grateful that I found it. Much love from Indiana. So if you want to encourage YouTube to share this podcast, please like it and thumbs it up. And that tells YouTube that it's a good podcast and they should show it to more people. Also share it with your knitting friends. If you have knitting friends, I don't have a lot of knitting friends. Most of my friends are muggles, but also congratulations, Josie Joe. I'm so happy for you having your baby and having podcasts ready for the nursing sessions. I can't even tell you how much I got done while I was nursing. Yarn Chicken says, I am looking forward to seeing you at the retreat. Me too, Tara, cannot wait. I love airplane knitting. On a flight this past week, I sat next to a nice young woman who was crocheting. It was so nice to chat a bit about our crafting and admire each other's work. Now that almost never happens, that I find other people who are also knitting/crocheting. Okay, I know it's been a lot of comments, but it was really good this past time. So Karen left a comment, and you might remember Karen. She has contributed stories to So Here's What Happened, but she also has had a really tough year. So she kind of summarizes it in the comment and then has such a wonderful story that this is like a mini So Here's What Happened because it's so good. Thank you so much, Karen, for this comment. She says, while watching your podcast and your knitting fantasies, I was knitting on my Fire Lily sweater by Jeanette Knits. I believe it's pronounced like Jeanette, but with a soft J sound. It is a challenging color work fingering weight sweater, but I hope it will be worth the hours of work in the end. I would love to see it, Karen, if you want to send it to me. She says, 2025 is turning out to be as difficult a year for us as was 2024. In January of 2024, so a year ago, my daughter, who's 24, had brain surgery. In March of 2024, her cheating husband left her. In October of 2024, she was officially divorced and still not recovering well from the brain surgery. She's facing a second brain surgery soon at Johns Hopkins University Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. There are many other trials that have hit us in 2024 and 2025. To survive in 2025, I need to keep my eye on Jesus and daily list the things I am thankful for. I'm also thankful for what happened as I was leaving Kohl's today. I'm not much of a shopper, and being that I am a self-proclaimed fluffy mama, I usually come out of the dressing rooms a bit down on myself after seeing all my fluffiness in its glory in those dressing rooms full of mirrors and bright lights that show every flaw. I had gotten warm in the store and had taken my coat off so you could see my multicolored, oversized, striped tunic-length knitted sweater as I was walking out to my vehicle. A car had kindly stopped to let me cross over to the parking area, and as I went past, the lady driver rolled down her window and said, "I love your sweater." I didn't hear her at first, so she said it again, loudly and enthusiastically, "I love your sweater." I stopped and beamed at her and said, "Thank you, I made it." She said, "You made it?" Gasp astonishment. I said proudly, "Yes, I did." She smiled and said, "Girl, you are rocking it." And with that, my whole mood lifted, and I was no longer listening to my self-condemnation about my fluffy body, but basking in the glory of knowing I had worn something beautiful that I made and that I am a beautiful creation of God. That lady did not need to stop and say that, but I am so thankful that she did. Such a reminder of the power of kind and encouraging words. This is totally me. I am totally that lady. Like, I talk to everyone when I'm out, and I compliment people who, I think people are kind of like, okay, weirdo. But I'm totally that person. But I love that this lady did that, especially right in that moment when you really needed it. Gosh, that was just awesome, awesome. Okay, so in the wild, let me start with this beautiful anthology throw. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. It's another one. This is different from the other one, a totally different knitter. Came out so, so good. Love how the Advent works so beautifully into this pattern. Just a perfect pattern for an Advent calendar, it seems like. And then this beautiful, adorable knitter made an Inverness sweater out of my Advent calendar. Look at how fabulous it turned out. She did such a good job. She started with the light color on the top, and then she had to separate out the yarn to make sure that the sleeves would be the same, and it came out so, so good. You did such a good job. Also, another thing that I wanted to share with you is that Pam, hi Pam, a lovely watcher of this podcast, has knit for her grandchildren, and her son's wife has not ever dressed the children in these knits. So I'm going to be putting them up here because we need to see them. We all knit. Let's just clap collectively. Pam, great job. These are amazing. I bet your grandchildren would look fabulous in them. Pam has given these as gifts and never seen them again. So I thought we would take this opportunity to show these beautiful knits and to appreciate all of the time and effort that went into them, since their recipient was just not knit worthy. Maybe the recipient, maybe the children were knit worthy, but I guess the gatekeeper was not knit worthy. And that is a bummer when that happens. I have people like that where I've made them something and then you never see it again, and you're like, okay, you just make a mental note, that person is just not knit worthy. But it's tough. It's tough when it's your grandchildren, I would imagine. All right, moving right along to knitting fantasies. This week, I did go to Ravelry. I don't use Ravelry very much, almost never, but I kind of wanted to see what was new. So I went over to Ravelry and I found this pattern by Caitlin Hunter. It is called the Winter Albina, and it is so on trend. I have thought that I wanted to design a sweater very similar to this because this is a total trendy sweater. But thank you to Caitlin Hunter because I didn't have to do it. It is worsted weight and it is 20% off right now. If you look on Ravelry, there's like a code. I don't know where you put the code in, but it is 20% off. Apparently, it seems like we're charging $9 for sweater patterns now. Knitty McPurly still is not, but I'm also not making new ones either. And I guess if you're Caitlin Hunter, you could get it. So things are worth what people are willing to pay for them. So I think this is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. Both of my picks today are things that I would absolutely purchase these and start them because I absolutely love them. Okay, my second pick is by Trin Anna Lee. Maybe I said that right, maybe I didn't. If she's watching, I apologize if I botched or butchered your name. But this is the Iris sweater. It is so pretty. The drop shoulder is back, people. It is 100% back. And both of these sweaters that I pick are a drop shoulder sweater. They are so easy to knit. Things when they were very, very tailored, we're talking set in sleeve. And this drop shoulder is so easy to knit. I wonder if it is steeked in the shoulder area. That's what I would do if I were the designer, but I don't know anything about this designer. The price is in euros, so she is someone who lives across the pond, as we say, across the, what are we calling it now? America East Ocean. This beautiful sweater has flower patterns on it, and it is in a light fingering weight yarn, which makes me feel like I would have to swatch. Although it's forgiving, it's not really fitted. It does come in 6 sizes, and I don't know if this one is on sale. It's €8, so it's a little bit cheaper if the euro and the dollar are on par, as they usually are. All right, moving right along to, so here's what happened. This story comes to us from a lovely podcast watcher named Rachel. Hi, Rachel. She says, let me begin with the backstory. In January of 2024, a year ago, my childhood best friend Erin commissioned me to knit a Quiet Stars cardigan for her sister Bryn's birthday in May. I agreed to knit the cardigan if she purchased the yarn. That's very generous of you. This particular design by Joji Locatelli is one of my favorites to knit, so it was a joy to work on. And it wound up fitting Bryn perfectly. Oh, isn't that a joy when that happens? Okay, so early July 2024, I was commissioned by Bryn. See, Bryn's got your number now. To knit the same cardigan for our amazing chiropractor, for whom she is the practice manager. As we love Doc, I agreed to do the knitting if she purchased the yarn. Doc's birthday is in December, which gave me plenty of time to complete the project. We ordered the yarn from an Australian hand dyer, and it arrived mid-August. All was going swimmingly, and I finished the body of the cardigan around the middle of October, and then it sat and sat and sat as I was struggling with finding the motivation to pick up the stitches for the set-in sleeve. Truth be told, I despise picking up stitches for anything, as I knit about 9 billion cardigans with a picked up button band about 6 years ago. Rachel is extremely prolific. I mean, this girl gets stuff done. She says, as the December 19th deadline was looming, I finally got off my butt and wove in all the ends and picked up the 91 stitches for the left sleeve on Sunday, December 1st. I began working the short rows for the sleeve cap, and all was great until I got the ending point of 5 stitches remaining around the left side, but I had 10 stitches remaining on the right side. Something was definitely amiss, so I paused and counted my right side stitches and had the requisite 45. Then I counted all the stitches and definitely had 91, so what on earth was I doing wrong? This was a conundrum, as I wasn't knitting at home on Monday, December 2nd, so I didn't have the pattern with my circled numbers when I reached this point. I hemmed and hawed about what to do about it for several minutes. The perfectionist in me wanted to figure out my mistake, rip it back, and fix it. The practical side of me wanted to just stop the short rows and continue knitting because the deadline was looming. Upon close inspection, the sleeve cap being off center wouldn't really be noticeable to a non-knitting recipient. My hang-up was that I would know it was off and was therefore less than perfect. For the first time ever, all caps, I decided to deviate from perfection and not rip back. Time was wasting, as I needed to knit 2 sleeves and 2 waist ties and block it by December 18th. So I progressed with the sleeve knitting, even though it hurt me in my soul not to correct the mistake, which I discovered was caused by using the short row numbers for the size down like an idiot. We've all done dumb things. And that brings me back to the lesson of slowing down and making sure you count accurately and circle the correct numbers when reading all the way through a pattern. Yes, do that. And if you change anything, write that down in the pattern. As of writing this, on Tuesday, December 3rd, I'm halfway through the first sleeve and it's progressing nicely. I should have it done by Wednesday, and I'll start the second sleeve on Thursday. Rachel, this was over a month ago. You have left us hanging. What happened? Tella, I need a picture. I need to see Doc wearing the sweater. I'm just kidding. But we would love an update if you would like to share with us what happened and if it all worked out. I am proud of you though for not ripping back. Rachel has been known to knit a lace weight lace stole and rip back like crazy. So it's good. Perfectionism is good because excellence is worth striving for. However, you know, just kind of enjoying your knitting and not sweating the small stuff is also good. So it's a lot of, it's just dichotomy upon dichotomy today. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope to see you in Dallas. If I don't see you there, I will see you here on February 8th. Have a wonderful 2 weeks and enjoy your knitting. Bye, folks.